Hi everyone, we're back, and today we're taking a look at 0.6.0. As you can see, something has happened to my golf course down here. It is snowing! This is a little mode that I added for the holidays. You can turn this on and off. It works with existing maps. It doesn't change any of the gameplay, it's just something cool for you to look at. Just look for the Let It Snow option in the gameplay settings menu. Okay, so let's get into the actual stuff. Alright, so the first thing I added here was the ability to make a perfectly flat, boring map. So I noticed a lot of people were doing this by hand, and it was kind of frustrating. So now I just let you set the sliders down to minimum, and you can spit yourself out pretty much a nice little board cube here if that's how you want to start the game. Who am I to tell you you can't? Another thing I added here is some variation to the weed, so you can see that I've got a large fortified weed here, so it's got a lot more health, but it doesn't spread around quite as fast. And I also got a little small one here, which is very weak, but it also spreads a little bit more quickly than the medium-based ones. And this is just to add a little bit more variety to the weed simulation. Now, of course, I've given you a new tool to deal with some of these new weeds. So it's a slow-firing, short-range turret that can create devastating chain reactions as it burns its way through the weeds here. The more dense the infection is, the better the turret will actually perform. So here's a problem that a lot of people have, is that you've built a golf course where you've used devices to propel the ball really far, and you can see that it's hitting this golfer way up here. Because the guy that's hitting the ball, he can't tell what's in front of him. So normally you would use this weight timer to keep golfers held back at the tee, but I've added a new device called the safety zone. So you place it down, you can adjust its radius, and if there are golfers inside of this zone, it will keep people held back at the tee until that area is clear. So you see that they're held back, they're not shooting their ball, and as soon as that guy moved out of the way, now they can shoot. It's not intended to replace the timer, but gives you some more control. So I've made some tweaks to the golf simulation here, so you can see that I'm starting way up on this hill. And if you look at my shot radius, you can see that the shape of it is actually flexing based on the elevation here. So you see if I'm shooting with my iron to the top of the hill, I can't really shoot that far, but if I'm shooting downhill, I can shoot much further. So this wasn't really factored into the simulation before, but now it is, so it's much more realistic. So your golfers can actually shoot quite a long distance if they're shooting downward. Now, this also works against you in the opposite way, so you can see that if you're shooting upward, you can't quite shoot as far as you normally could shooting on a flat or downward-based surface. So like this lip up here, I can barely get the ball up, and you can see the line kind of contorting to the different elevation levels. Another problem that I noticed people were having was that you'd paint a path and it really ends up looking ugly. And even if you paint really slowly, it kind of looks a little patchy and not really natural. I didn't want to use a line tool because nothing else really uses a line tool. One thing I added was this modifier called tracking speed, so you can see that as I'm painting, it's taken a while for the painter to catch up to my mouse cursor. So if I set it to really low, you can get some really nice smooth straight lines or nice fluid curves without it looking patchy or raking across the terrain. The one on the bottom here looks a lot more natural. It also works with anything that uses the paint tool, and here I'm using the flatten tool to create a nice smooth shape. So smooth. Yeah, so smooth. Another big request I had was to not clobber the ground type when you build structures, so I ruined it. I put my clubhouse on top of it. Hey, no problem. Just delete it. It'll remember what you had underneath of it. I also added some creepy holiday decorations. What are they doing? And that's all we got for 0.6.0. As usual, there's a lot more stuff in the patch notes, so check it out. Take a look. And have a safe winter holiday, everybody. Check you next time.